the product. So wanted to try it out. I've tried other kind of portable home gym type things or travel gyms. This thing's, I think, labeled itself as a portable gym in your pocket. There was another device I tried a while back that I thought was just, in my opinion, I just didn't like it all because it had such minimal resistance. When I heard this thing up to 44 pounds, again, I was skeptical, but we'll see what happens. When they shipped this to me, it came in this box. Again, this is what the unit comes in. You guys will see a video here of me unboxing it. I actually got this the day before I was going out of town. I was all excited. I'm like, oh, this is perfect. I'll bring it with me on vacation. And before I even tried it out, before I was gonna dedicate to actually bring it in the car, I wanted to see just how the resistance was. And I had just the standard 20-pound resistance, and I messed around with it for like maybe 10 minutes. I'm like, this thing's pretty cool. So I trusted enough I was gonna bring it with my vacation. Unfortunately, I forgot to bring it as I was rushing out the door. It was sitting on my counter. I actually brought like my son's drone, which had a similar box, side story, but I saw my security camera, I left it at home, so I was excited to get home as I am right now to give it a shakedown here because I haven't worked out in a few days other than my resistance bands. I was traveling. But just judging by that initial resistance, I was very impressed with that.
It's great.
Then when I got home yesterday, I was messing around with the tension. I signed into the app. You definitely need the app to kind of access and maximize this thing, which is probably one little downfall to this. I did not like that you can't just adjust the resistances on the fly on the machine. I'm not big into like using a lot of technology with stuff. So this is definitely the most technology driven piece of fitness equipment that I actually own. There is a little instruction guide here that honestly isn't kind of lackluster compared to the packaging that came with the box. You guys can see the unboxing here that this is almost packaged kind of like an Apple product. Very sleek design, really cool packaging. All the attachments feel like they're really good quality, from the handles, the ankle attachment. There's like a stepping kind of handle. There's also an extender cord there as well. But once I kind of logged on the app, that kind of teaches you everything you need to know about the machine. There's tons of exercise. There's like a calorie counter. There's even like a ranking board, I think some people will actually enjoy. From there though, you can actually go to the resistance setting and actually then dial up the resistance upwards of as much as 44 pounds. Then you can also mess around with different tension settings. The eccentric load tension feels really cool. Literally feels like someone's giving you an eccentric tension, like a partner's there working out with you. There's constant tension, so you guys can mess around with that. Right out of the box, when I started playing with that, just those different settings and resistance, I was very, very impressed. Just how fluid and intuitive it was. It wasn't like rockety or jerky. I'm making up words here, but very cool. My wife tried it for a little bit. She didn't work out with it yet. She's like, this is a really cool thing. She was excited to try, which is always like a good sign when you're excited to actually try something. Again, if I sound excited right now, it's because I am, because I've yet to work out with it. I'm gonna throw on some headphones here in a second. I'm gonna work out with it. It's got a full charge, as I think it does now. I'm gonna mess around with it and let you guys know my full kind of overview. As you guys are gonna see me live, I'll kind of talk over this video and I'll let you guys know how this is. Okay, so what I did in this workout, very simple. I didn't follow any kind of set template, just kind of intuitively just went to town on it, just doing things that just felt good to me in a natural workout. Again, I was coming off feeling pretty fresh, not doing anything for a few days, so I was kind of just jumping right into this really enthusiastic, just testing out the limits. And as I said in the beginning, when I first did the initial press, just loved the tension. I just cranked this up in these first few sets here, basically seeing the order that I did a lot of the exercises in, just to 44 pounds resistance. That's majority what I had it. I adjusted it a little bit. Now you guys can see like in the curls, those presses that I did, I kind of used the single arm presses with my foot and the back of that little like foot anchor that they got there. Predominantly, honestly, this is what I probably would stick with if I was traveling. I don't know if I'd even mess with like anchoring the machine. You can see me anchoring it here to this kind of cheap squat stand that I've talked about a lot. That was no problem. I loved just how fluid the rows felt. That just felt really good. These rotations felt awesome, really smooth. It really does a really good job replicating what a cable tension really does. And I won't just say a cable tension, but really good cable tension. And even though it's only 44 pounds, you can see me pressing, I'm kind of wincing. I'm definitely working. And I'm always a big believer, you don't need a lot of heavy weight to really feel that muscle working. So the main thing is that you're really engaged with the machine. I would say of all the weak points of this is really the rowing stuff. Weak in the sense that, I mean, if you're pretty strong, you got some, fairly good upper body strength, that's not going to be really challenging. Single joint stuff like arms, shoulders, really anything else other than like, I would say really the rows, I think were the biggest weak spots. Triceps and arms, like I said, it felt good. You'll see a few times, I think in that last clip there with the triceps, I was doing some of the eccentric settings, which feels really good with this machine. This thing right here, I've never done this exercise. I just started messing around with some leg stuff, and I did it a few different sets off the camera. I did that little, like, I guess it's like a glute hip thrust. And then this thing with the Total Gym, threw it on the Total Gym towards the end. And honestly, unless I discover some things later on, I just don't think it's really necessary. It's useful if you don't have like a squat rack to anchor it to something, it'll come in handy. But this is where the weak spot is, guys. The thing essentially started overheating. I started getting this like warning light on my phone just saying you're running hot, you're kind of like going a little too fast. And so I had to give it like a 5-minute break there, went in my Total Gym for a little bit, gave it a break and went back to it. I'll say this in kind of the wrap up here, following up here in a second, guys, but you're seeing some eccentric action here. That felt awesome. But otherwise, that was the biggest weak spot. You'll see me talk about it, is the fact that it runs out of batteries and it doesn't hold the charge that well. Otherwise, all around, this was a really fun workout. All right, so after getting a chance to kind of really give this thing a good workout, you can see I was started jumping on my Total Gym a little bit, messing around with that. The biggest problem was, as you guys saw, is that this thing started to just overheat. And I kind of figured as much once I started going and realizing that as I was so much impressed with the resistance being up to like 40-ish pounds, I knew that I had no idea how this thing works, but I knew this thing is working very hard, or it has to be, to keep up with the amount of repetitions and just stuff I was throwing at it, with it kind of giving me 40 pounds of resistance coming right back to me. For the most part, when I was messing around with this, I was sticking to 30 to 44 pounds, maxing it out, pretty much doing 44 pounds for pretty much everything. Overall, I think this thing is really, really cool. I think the thing is it's starting to overheat, and it kind of petered out on me towards the end. So realistically, if you're using this for like a sole form of like just your like working out or resistance training, I definitely wouldn't do that. I don't think it's really marketed as that. You can also see the battery started to wear down, given the fact that it also gave it like a break to kind of had to overheat, and it kind of like turned off for a little bit. Let it rest for about like 10 minutes or so, 5 or 10 minutes as I was jumping on this, and it was fully charged. It's around like 25%. Again, I kind of assumed that. I don't think this thing would really hold the charge that long, just considering how much work I was putting it through. But overall, as far as like the fact that it was overheating, the fact that the battery kind of wears out fairly quickly, I loved this resistance. I thought this thing was really, really cool. I mean, as I started going on this workout, I was just thoroughly impressed just how that tension felt. I'm a big person of like getting that connection to you, and that whatever that machine or device you're using with resistance training, and getting that mind muscle connection is really important. And part of that is just the resistance that whatever's being given off by whatever mode of exercise you're doing. And this thing gave off a lot of awesome quality resistance. I loved how smooth it felt. As far as like a piece of like travel equipment that you guys could throw in your bag, I would probably, if I was traveling on a vacation, I'm definitely gonna be using this thing. I'll definitely throw it in the bag. Probably throw in some resistance bands as well. This could definitely be a staple, and you can see how small it is even compared to like a basic kind of iPhone. There's a shot here of my wife's in that camera. You guys can see that. So very small. I didn't say how lightweight this thing really is. If I was packing it, I wouldn't bring all the extra bells and whistles. I think this is fine. I probably wouldn't even throw in a door attachment. You certainly could. Actually, I'd probably recommend, if I was going somewhere, I'd probably throw in the door attachment. You guys saw me doing some good straight presses, like even presses through like the cable. And probably what I'm gonna do in the future, you guys saw the Total Gym stuff on here as well, and I might mess around with it more in the future. This works out great if you got a Total Gym, but I always feel like, you know, the stuff I was doing in there, the Total Gym exercises felt probably a little bit better. But if you want to experience like that cable, kind of fluid cable feel, without having like a full cable crossover machine or a functional trainer, and if you don't have one of these, like you're traveling, this thing was awesome. What I'm probably gonna do in the future is I'm probably gonna have this thing more like in a station setup. I'll probably just have this thing off to the side. I'll superset doing some like isolated exercises. And then I'll probably just keep it, as you guys saw, kind of attached to that really cheap power rack that I've reviewed and talked about many times. Very easy kind of basic setup. And I'll probably do that. And honestly, I think this thing, I'm very grateful that the company sent this to me. It'd be awesome they sent me 2 of these, not gonna lie, but I'm just joking. One of these is honestly probably enough for most people. Now, do I think it's worth it? As far as like, if you guys saw what you saw today, and you saw that it runs out of battery and moderately kind of quickly, you'll get like definitely get a 30-minute workout of it for sure. An hour of consistent chronic use, this thing just can't handle it. It'll shut down, it'll overheat on you. I was getting that warning a lot on the phone. If you don't mind switching to your phone to actually adjust the settings, I mean, that's not too much of a big deal. If you guys don't mind the price, you got that extra money to spend, this thing is cool. Now again, all this stuff in the background of my head, what I've just gotta say is, I'm a little nervous. I gotta check the warranty again. Maybe I'll put it on the screen here if you guys see it. I'm a little nervous of this thing kind of holding up. There's a lot of moving parts. I assume that's going along with this, not a technology that, do I see this thing holding up to a lot of use? I'd be very like, I'd be very surprised, and it'd be awesome if it did. I just can't imagine this thing taking a huge beating. I think this is more used for like occasional use or just kind of little moderate supersets. I'll still definitely take advantage of it, but obviously it's got a battery on it, so that's gonna be a limiting factor as well. So that's something definitely to consider. This might be one of those like luxury item type things, just given the technology of it, but this seems kind of cool. Certainly if you're someone who travels once in a while, I'm definitely gonna put it to the ringer. As all my reviews, if this thing breaks in the near future, if it breaks at some point, I will post a pinned comment at the top of this review so you can come back and check it later. Or if you're seeing this at a later date, I'll definitely let you know. Otherwise, I think this thing is very cool. Very grateful I got this thing. I think it's awesome. Never tried anything like it. I don't know of anything else like it. So that's about it, guys. Any questions, comments, feedback, let me know down below. I could say a lot more with this. This is like probably an initial review. I'll probably talk more with this in the future, but very cool. I think it's awesome. Just don't know if it's worth the price tag and the reliability factor. I kind of question at this point. But appreciate the company sending this to me. One of the coolest free products I ever got. Again, if you guys ever want to check it out, check the link down below. Help support me.